This NBA playoff picks edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Naira Bets. Bet the Kentucky Derby by using promo code SGPN25 for a $25 free bet plus a $200 deposit match bonus at nyrabets.com/SGPN25 and start winning today.
Hey, this is John Sally, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner of picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
No, how about those New York Knickerbockers?
Knicks get it done.
Let's go.
I had Pistons laying the 1.5. I thought at some point the Pistons were going to win a home game, but did cash the over 5.5 Knicks Pistons in the series. So that was a nice cash.
Come on. They lose in the second round, Sean.
Yes. And going up against the Celtics, hard to talk yourself into the New York Knicks. We will be joined by Scott here in a second to talk a bunch of second rounds. We got a game 7 tonight. Rockets Warriors should be a fun game 7. Of course, Kentucky Derby right around the corner, Ryan, on Saturday. Kentucky Oaks is today, and we got picks for that. We just did our Kentucky Derby preview with Wolf of Oaklawn, Malcolm Bamford, and Barry the Sniper Spears. So make sure you check that out, that episode, if you haven't already listened to it. But yeah, all things NBA tonight, today, gonna be good times.
Oh, I have a large bet on the Oaks tonight.
Oh yes. And Ryan, also we had him in studio, our buddy Rolly Ramirez fighting Rolly Romero, the boxer, is fighting Garcia tonight. What is the we gotta place a little wager on him, because I think his fight is going to be happening while
My God,
we are doing our VSiN show tonight.
you don't even want to know what the price is.
What's he at?
7-1.
Oh, come on. We have a rule here, Ryan. Anyone who comes on our show or the VSiN show, we have to bet on them. So we got to get a little play over on Rolly.
Are we worried a little bit that he did tell us he was not good with the cold? And it might not be.
Well, it is an outdoor. It is in Times Square. So yeah, not ideal. But I think once you get the cardio up there, you'll be feeling a little
Well, guess
warmer.
what the low is tonight?
What is it?
In New York. Only 64. So
okay.
High of 83.
That's mild. This guy should be all right. Shout out to you, Rolly. Thanks again for coming on the VSiN show. Joining us on the line, a guest on our VSiN show. You know him from the NBA Gambling Podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, the Tennis Gambling Podcast, Scott Reichel. Scott, thanks for hopping on. How's your NBA playoffs treating you so far?
Yeah, so far can't complain. I was pretty wrong about the Lakers, but you know what? I get the life of LeBron, so it's a trade-off. You know, we'll take that. But either way, point is, I do want to ask Kramer how he's doing, because he had to sweat out a pretty crazy series, but survive in advance, right?
I wish I had. I mean, I wish I could lie to you and say I sweat anything with the Knicks in the past 15 years, but it's enjoyable. Brunson is very fun to watch.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why they traded for any of the guys they traded for. Cat's a pussy. Bridges is a bust. I mean, honestly, if I was buying
DiVincenzo, why DiVincenzo would have been nice on this team. I don't know why you get rid of him.
Well, wasn't there some drama? That commercial confused me because they threw him the hat. I thought there was drama.
No, they're cool.
But yeah, if I'm getting a jersey for the Knicks, it's Brunson or Hart. That's it. Ride or die with those two. Rest of the team.
Certified dogs.
I was going to say, to come to Bridges' defense a little bit, he was great last night. He had a big offensive rebound putback. He had 25 points. I understand they gave up a ton for him. I still think too much. But to be fair, he did help you advance to the next round. I'm not sure you're going to get past Boston. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you got to get, one round at a time. That's what they say.
Well, and Tibbs, Scott is, if you like seeing coaches get roasted on X, you got to follow Scott, because Scott was shitting on both coaches there in the Pistons Knicks game. And yeah, Tibbs' handling of these games late.
Does he not? Is he one of these, like, he doesn't understand how to use timeouts? Like how is it?
Or challenges? Yeah.
I get pissed off at my kids' middle school games when the coach isn't effectively using timeouts. You're a professional coach. How do you not know how to do this stuff?
Yeah, I got no defense for Tibbs, and he managing the minutes, whatever. He just doesn't seem to have a great handle. He's one of those guys, almost like Andy Reid, to the point where Andy Reid was good at like getting the team ready, good at play calling, but like the in-game stuff, like when to call timeouts, that kind of stuff, he was just, or when to challenge. Andy Reid was horrible. He's eventually gotten better over the years. I know people are probably like, you can't compare him to Andy Reid, but Andy Reid winning his Super Bowls was a lot like Tibbs. I feel like where everyone thought he was a good coach, but like the in-game stuff drove people crazy.
Well, he also did. I assume Doc Rivers can't be credited with the championships in Boston, so you got to give credit to someone.
That'll be interesting. Scott, is Glenn Rivers returning to the Milwaukee Bucks?
I'm going to say yes, because they have a couple of scapegoats they can use with the Lillard injury. Stuff just didn't work out. He wasn't the one who traded for Kuzma. I'm just going to throw that out there. That wasn't his fault, but I think it's pretty weird that they extended the GM mid-series down 2-0, but that was kind of weird. I don't think I've seen that before, but either way.
It is a weird, like, hey, you're really bad at your job. We're going to come and re-sign you. Like, I don't, as someone who is running a company, that wouldn't cross my mind of like, hey, you're really fucking up this week. Let's see what we can do to lock you up. Very questionable there. And then Scott, what about the Lakers? It did feel like JJ Redick kind of unraveled a little bit, lost his cool, his composure. You know, you had Windy saying he was basically on tilt there with some of his in-game decisions. Seemingly maybe called out Luka, said the team has to get in championship shape.
Whoa.
I assume that's a shot at Luka. How did you interpret that?
My interpretation was our team has no bench. Please get us a center. So I did not think he was calling out Luka.
Yeah. Okay.
I like how you were connecting some dots there. You might be right to some degree, but I do think when you're looking at Doc Rivers and you're looking at JJ Redick, at the end of the day, you can make the argument that both teams that they're coaching were just not as good as the other team. So you can argue that Doc Rivers, for example, I thought he was bad the entire series. Am I blaming him for them losing the last game? No, because they were up 7 with 40 seconds to go and Trent Jr. turned the ball over twice. I can't blame that on Doc Rivers. Of course, it's fun to laugh at Doc Rivers when his teams collapse in the playoffs, but I feel like when Dame gets injured and you're against Halliburton and you're against a solid team in terms of depth, I'm not going to blame Doc Rivers for that. Do I think he's a good coach? No. Do I think he'll be back next year? Yes. I think Milwaukee's got serious problems. They don't own their own first-round pick until about 2030, so they might trade Giannis over the offseason. We'll see. Doc could leave in theory, who knows, but I'm not going to blame him for the series loss. JJ, I think, should get more blame than Doc should, because Lillard came back from a blood clot. They forced him back. Kuzma was terrible. Giannis was by himself for most of these games. I know Trent Jr. was good late. Same thing with AJ Green, who played well down the stretch, but they were just outmatched. For the Lakers series, the rotations in the last couple of games, not using anybody in the second half besides your starting five in one of those games. Then on top of that, Maxi Kleber you bring back, who has not played in 3 months. And it's one thing if you want to use him as a last-second desperation move to stop Gobert. You brought him back in the fourth quarter of a close game with 5 minutes to go. I thought Redick was atrocious in the last game of that series. I know that Ant had an off game. Gobert at 27 and 24, which is probably the best game he's ever played. But I thought Redick had a worse series than Doc Rivers, in my opinion. Because I do think when you're looking at what Doc Rivers was actually supposed to do, Indiana was just better. You could argue that Indiana, with the depth they had with Milwaukee only having one guy, that wasn't enough. And you're looking at the supporting cast from Milwaukee not being that great. The Lakers still have Luka. They still have LeBron. They still have Reeves. So you could argue that on paper, they're a better team than Minnesota. You could push back on that. But when you have LeBron and Luka and Reeves, who are viewed as a solid big three, mainly big two with Reeves as the add-on, and you lose in 5, I think that's probably the worst.
I mean, even just simplified even more. You have LeBron James and Luka. You got to win more than one round 1 playoff game. I get it. Some of those games were close, and you don't have a real center. The Mark Williams trade or whatever happened with him and not getting cleared injury wise, and they didn't really have a big man. Sure, all those are great excuses, but you have LeBron and Luka. You gotta win 2 games. That's insane.
Just maybe a dumb take here, but how is this not LeBron's fault? They hired a coach with literally no coaching experience outside of a 4th grade volunteer stint coaching his 8-year-old kid.
Yeah, I mean,
how are we like? Sure,
Well,
Redick failed because Redick comically not prepared for this situation. Obviously, not prepared for a series where you're playing the same team over and over again.
Yeah,
and the reason that he was the coach, by my estimation, was some weird. What would LeBron DEI called? Just make an acronym for LeBron. LeBron says he's the best guy for the job, so we hire him. Well, he's clearly not the best guy for the job.
Probably not, but yeah.
But isn't that why you fail?
He wasn't horrible
because the regular season's not real coaching.
Yeah,
you don't. It's just like they don't try hard in the regular season. In the playoffs, you play the same team over and over again. So even a mediocre coach will have the understanding of how to adjust and the ebbs and flows of a series. Obviously, JJ Redick did not. Also, did not have a ton of playing. I don't want to talk shit about him, the player, but not exactly a ton of playoff playing experience. So why are we surprised that he had no fucking clue? And he's throwing tantrums at his players.
He's gonna get in the press conference.
Yeah, he was a bit emotional. I was surprised to see that.
Like, you can't be a petulant private school pussy when you've accomplished nothing.
And LeBron now 2-12 in his last 3 playoff series. As the astronaut in the chat points out, all these bronze sexuals and league lasers have been real quiet the past couple days. Is the astronaut a burner for one Kevin Durant? Scott, how say you?
The Cooper Flag profile picture does give me mixed opinions on if that's a Kevin Durant burner account.
What better way to throw people off than with the Cooper Flag profile?
It's true. I'm just saying. I do think I did end up talking about LeBron scoring 5 points in the last 30 minutes of fourth quarter action in the series. Yeah. 5 points. So he definitely no-showed a lot of the fourth quarters. Luka wasn't guarding anybody. He didn't play much defense anyway. Once again, I think LeBron at this stage in his career, people are going to use the age as basically a win-win for LeBron. Everything he does right, I can't believe it. He's 40 years old. He's incredible. Yeah. And every time he does something that's horrible, he's 40 years old. What do you want from the guy? I want you to actually show up in the fourth quarter of games. Like, I'm not asking for much here. It's one thing if LeBron's going to miss some shots. It wasn't even the missing. It was the fact that he wasn't even attempting shots. He was deferring to Luka for the fourth quarter of pretty much all these games while standing in the corner. And that just can't happen. No matter how old you are, if you're going to be on the court and you're supposed to be a top 10, top 15 guy in the league, I understand he's 40 years old, but still, your team needs you to at least try to carry on occasion. And LeBron, after hitting that logo 3-pointer at the end of game 3, or the middle of the fourth quarter in game 3, scored 5 points in the fourth quarter for the rest of the series. That can't happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. LeBron does feel like he's playing with house money, and certainly we can dissect his career. Obviously, very great career. Certainly not better than Jordan. If you say that, you're insane. But to Scott's point,
I don't think you're insane to say he's had a better career.
It depends on how much you value longevity. If you want to go for peak versus longevity, the main argument LeBron has is he played for 20-something years at a high level. But a lot of people who witness both say that Jordan had the better peak, and now they're giving LeBron extra credit for playing this long. So it kind of depends on what you prefer.
Yeah, the cop out is you say Jordan better player, LeBron better career.
Well, I think if Michael Jordan played in this era where he could have extended his body thanks to sports science,
legal gambling might have been a problem.
It could have been.
I'm just saying. I think. Yeah.
Well, it didn't seem to slow him down when it wasn't legal everywhere.
You got to remember though, he didn't have. It might have
actually. It might have actually. His dad might be around if he was dealing with FanDuel instead of the Russian mafia, allegedly.
I was going to say that, but what I was going to say was that Jordan didn't have a gambling problem. You have to remember that it was only a hobby. It was only a hobby, so you got to keep that in mind.
They should play that instead of like the disclaimer. I don't know. You might have a gambling problem, but some of you might have a gambling hobby.
That's a shirt. Gambling hobbyist.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Send that immediately over to Jake. All right, we're gonna get to the games. Before we do, of course, shout out to Edge Boost, baby. Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are approved. Can you imagine I mean, Michael Jordan now, he should be getting an Edge Boost card. Can you imagine all the cash back rewards?
Well, he wasn't paying all the time.
Well, but let's say he's using legal sites, using his Edge Boost card. He gets no usage fees, no minimums. He can earn cashback rewards. His cashback rewards must be insane and 100% approval for all betting deposits. He doesn't want to get hit with the cash advance fee, when depositing to his app. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN. Deposit $25 and EdgeBoost will match the deposit. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. And it is Derby week here at SGPN. Check out our Kentucky Derby preview, all the great podcasts over on Notorious OTB. Get down on their show over there. And of course, get down on the action with Naira Bets, NYRA Bets. Go to nairabets.com/SGPN25. You get a $25 free bet and a $200 deposit match bonus. That is awesome. Great way to get down. And that is nairabets.com/SGPN25. And of course, as always, mybookie.ag, the NBA playoffs. We got some fun plays tonight here. Game 7. Perfect way to sweat it out using mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. You get the cash out. The prop builder is really awesome. The MyBookie money bag where you get the random future. Of course, terms and conditions do apply with the deposit match. So we'll read up on those before signing off, but 100% match up to $1,000. MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Kramer, Game 7 tonight.
Yeah. Before we talk about it, while you were looking, or while you were talking there, I was looking around. 10-1 for Romero to win by knockout tonight.
Oh,
he did tell us his strategy for the fight was to knock him out.
I think that might be. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the value, but I don't. If he wins, how is it not by?
Well, win by decisions like 25-1. So the odds certainly.
Yeah.
I will say this: the odds suggest that he has no fucking chance.
But this is boxing, and Garcia was juiced up, Ryan, and we're team rolling.
And we're team rolling.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, Game 7 tonight? Question mark. 6 p.m. local. Is this the right? Did I write down the right time? It's that late. 6 p.m. out in the West Coast. Golden State, Houston. Warriors laying 5.5. 207 is the total.
I'll start all over the Warriors. I mean, lock it up. You could just see it in their eyes. Game 5. I was on
Game 6, right? Yeah, Game 6 tonight.
Yeah,
you led me astray.
In what?
You said Game 7. Let's go. And so I said,
sure.
He was rooting for Game 7. That's why I put a question mark at the end of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I was confused because I'm
Scott.
sitting here like this isn't a Game 7.
No, you're right. I blank because this is to decide a Game 7, and I actually don't think there will be a Game 7 because I do think the Warriors get it done. I got the 4.5. I still like it here at 5.5. But Golden State coming back at home after a loss. Teams in the playoffs have been great. ATS off after a loss. Golden State, that is the best time to play them. Scott, you and Terrell both gave out Golden State to lead the series 2-1 at a nice plus 130 price when we were talking earlier, NBA playoffs. And I think we kind of nailed the game script. I thought they would win Game 1, lose Game 2, win Game 3, and then I had them Game 4. I've not
just take the exact.
I've
result.
not been dominating this NBA playoffs by any stretch, but I've been nailing this series. I was on Houston last game, and they clearly Golden State like 2 minutes in, Curry got 2 fouls. You could just tell like, all right, we don't give a fuck about this game. We'll get it done at home, and the Roracle, as they call it or whatever, will be lit. And I think Butler will be getting a little bit healthier. I just think they're a tough out at home here, and Houston has played well, but man, they look like a completely different team on the road. And maybe we'll talk about it in the underdog stuff, but Scott, what's up with Jalen Green? Like, he had one game where he put up 38 points and you've been roasting him on Twitter. He looks kind of lost otherwise. So I like the Warriors a ton here, but Scott, how do you see this?
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people drew a lot of parallels to what we saw in Game 5 of this series, the series against Memphis a couple years ago when Golden State eventually did win the title, where Memphis won by 50. Everyone was going crazy. People thought, oh, maybe they figured out Golden State. And then Golden State came back in Game 6, won the game, won the series, and won the title. So I feel like people feel like they've seen this movie before. A reminder, though, that the Warriors are not foolproof in these closeout games at home. Did lose Game 6 at home to Sacramento a couple of years ago. They won Game 7 on the road because Curry dropped 50. but we have seen them actually lose in the spot before. Been a very weird series where it feels like the referees determine so much of the outcome because everyone either could be in foul trouble about 3 minutes into the game, or they let them kill each other for all 48 minutes, and it's somewhere in the middle. So I do think that Golden State's going to win the game. However, I'm not as confident in the margin, I think, as you are. I think Houston keep this game close. Houston had some chances to win both Game 3 and Game 4, fell apart in the second half in Game 3. Game 4, they fell apart in the second half, came back, and then you ended up seeing the Warriors find a way to win, courtesy of that Dylan Brooks three-point foul on Jimmy Butler there towards the end. But Houston's been competitive in a lot of these games. And I do think the question is if the environment with the inexperience for Houston is going to result in them self-destructing again late in the game, possibly. But I do think the zone defense that Houston's been using has actually given Golden State some problems. I'm not going to overreact to what we saw in Game 5. I think that's foolish. But at the same point, if Van Vliet can keep shooting well, if Allen keeps playing well, I have no faith in Jalen Green, to be clear. And I'm not picking Dylan Brooks to score 24 points again. But I do think with Şengün, with Van Vliet, and with Amin, they might have enough to keep this game very close. My favorite play is actually Golden State 1-10. I think it's going to be a close game. But you can get Golden State 1-10 at plus 182. I saw that available, so I do think that's worth something. Golden State, I think, will win, but I see a pretty classic Golden State playoff game at home, which is them up by about 10 or 15. Suddenly you blink and they're up 2, and you're wondering what's happening. And then Curry hits a big shot and they win by like 5. That's kind of where I'm at, so I'll go with the Warriors 1-10 at plus 1.
Now, Scott, the total, you turned us on to smashing at least Game 1, the under there, and the under came in for the first 3 games, but then the last 2 we have seen it gone over. The total's now up to 207, potential closeout game. Usually the defense increases a little bit, but not always necessarily. Do you have any thoughts on the total? I would probably look to the under here now that it's back up to 207, but I don't have as strong of conviction. What's your any takes on the total?
Yeah, my main takeaway for the total and also for the side here is that I'm a bit annoyed because I'm still waiting for Scott Foster.
Yeah,
where is he? We've been waiting for Game 7s the entire postseason, and the Pistons probably could have used him yesterday after they blew that game. You got one Game 7 with the Clippers, of course, winning yesterday, but I do think with the game itself, I would go with the under. I'm probably not going to bet the under, but I do think based on the overall stakes at play, I think the refs will let him get pretty chippy. I do think it's going to be a physical battle between 2 teams that are desperate to win it. Golden State can, in theory, survive losing Game 6, but you don't want to go back on the road for Game 7 if you don't have to. They're clearly going to go all hands on deck for this game. Houston has to, because if they lose, they're eliminated. So I see a pretty physical war here. Maybe first team to 100 wins. Maybe I'm still being a bit of a prisoner of the moment for what I saw in the first couple games in the series. But I see a physical battle here. Think it'll be a very slow half-court style of game. And I still question Houston offensively if there will be one quarter where they score 15 points. They just come out extremely shocked. They just seem like they are not ready for the moment, and they start bricking everything. I'll go under. It's not once again a strong opinion by me, but I don't want to take the over at this number. I'd rather go for player props.
Kramer?
It kind of has vibes of a kitchen sink game, but to Scott's point, the close. You know what? I'll do the ultimate hedge. Warriors are going to win the game. Rockets cover. I think Scott's right.
Okay.
I don't want to. Should I just copy Scott? I was going to take Houston plus the points.
What?
I'm not doing well in the VSing contest anymore though. So my originated takes are not good.
Do you still have picks left, by the way? Because I thought it was 20 per round. I ran out of picks anyway.
I ran out of picks.
Yes.
Second round, I'm going to get on a heater.
So Kramer's giving out Houston plus 5.5 and Golden State 1-10 plus 182.
Threading the needle.
That's a nice middle. Now
we're gonna have a ton of cash after the Kentucky Oaks later this afternoon. So
next up, Kramer, what do we got?
Saturday 4:30 p.m. here on the West Coast. Clips Nuggets laying a point here. This is a Game 7.
Yes, I was mistaken previously.
Yeah, maybe what a quote unquote series of the first round. Joker's still good. I do like this like massive revelation of the media. Be like, yeah, Joker's still good. Yeah, no shit. Why were we all over the Clippers at the beginning of this series? Yeah, even as I'm watching, I'm like, God damn it. Do not want to root against this Denver team.
Well, it's one of those things, at least for me in this series, where I felt like I've been off pretty much
consistently.
Well, just because, and I feel dumb every time I bet this series because I'm either betting against Joker in the playoffs, or you're like betting on the Clippers, which never feels great. And I feel like I've been on the opposite side of those good situations. Scott, how do you see this game 7 in Denver at elevation? I kind of thought it was weird where like the Clippers, even though they were up a little bit, like they didn't do a good job closing out. They let the Nuggets hang around in that game. They probably backdoored it depending on what you got the Nuggets at. Maybe 6.5, 7s were out there early. They ended up losing exactly by 6. But how say you this game 7 here?
Yeah, shout out to Veasan for having 7, by the way, because the Nuggets covered that. But anyway, I do think for this game, it's a very, very interesting battle of narratives because on one hand, Denver choked away a 20-point lead against Minnesota at home last year in game 7. So we've seen them blow this spot before. Then again, you have the Clippers on the other side with playoff Harden. So you're wondering if he's going to show up in back-to-back games for game 7. It's such an annoying series because the Clippers, I think, are so much more talented than this team. Yet they are just not, in my opinion, wired properly. And you saw that kind of unfold again late in game 6. They survived because Westbrook smoked a layup, and then he had another layup blocked by Batum.
Oh my God.
And at that point, like, I'll let you finish your point.
Layups. No. Sorry. Just, I remember how much it pissed me off. The Westbrook layup, the Joker even, and there was a lot of contact on that, but I'm fine letting him play, but he missed that shot.
They kind of killed the entire comeback attempt, but it feels like the Clippers, when both stars are engaged, when Harden and Kawhi basically combine for 55, 60 points, they're going to win. The problem is Harden takes some games off. Kawhi's not as aggressive as he should be. They pulled the plug on Chris Dunn last game because he is not a great shooter. They wanted the spacing. Batum's been great as a role player. We expect Murray to play well. He's looked pretty sharp the last couple games. Joker was really bad in the second half. Yesterday, he scored 5 points in the entire second half. That's not going to happen again. The Clippers, though, we expect them to choke. But Denver, I think, is the inferior team. So you're kind of just stuck here. I like the under because it's game 7. I think they're going to kill each other. But you know what? I've been wrong about the Clippers every step of the way. And I even commented saying I'm never betting on the Clippers again for the sake of the postseason because I can't stand this team.
Yes.
Give me the Nuggets in game 7 at home. I think Denver, the one thing this series has taught me, which I'm feeling most people know already, but it's something as a reminder, don't overreact too much to the previous game because there have been so many momentum swings, whether it involves one team winning and then suddenly the other team comes back and wins by 30. And then next thing you know, the team that just won by 30 loses by 20 the game after. It's been just an insanely unpredictable series with teams just alternating good games and bad games. I'll dare James Harden to beat me in a game 7. I think Joker shows up. Murray's actually healthy. Porter Jr. is not healthy. That's a bit of a problem. But Westbrook, besides the missed layups, has had a couple of good games as well. I'll back Joker, the best player in the world, and I'll dare Harden on the road to show up in game 7 for once. It's a close game. It's an ugly game. But as we saw yesterday, do I trust the Clippers in late game situations compared to Denver? I don't. They drain a ton of clock, take a ton of really bad isolation jumpers, and suddenly Denver goes on a run. The game's close again. Give me Denver to win a very close game. Denver by 1 possession. But I'll go with Denver to win at home.
90% of the handle at Circa, 94% of the handle at DraftKings on the Nuggets.
Yeah. But call me a square. I'm with Scott. Give me the Nuggets. I'm not putting hard-earned money on James Harden in a game 7. If he's going to beat me, so be it. I just don't see them showing up in this game. And shout out to the Hastronaut. He's pointing out that Bo Nix is going to be in the building. They don't lose when Bo is in the building. Also shout out to Adam Osimo pointing out he likes the Jalen Green under points, Draymond Green under PRA, and Sean Green over PRA and of steals and blocks. Yes, I'm I'm a hustler out there when it comes to blocks and rebounds. And shout out to Channing checking in live on a flight with the in-flight Wi-Fi.
Maybe that must be like JSX or something with the good Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I feel like it depends on the airline. Some of them you might be able to get some streaming done.
Turns out you can get internet in the air. What else haven't they been telling us?
Clippers Nuggets though, I'm with Scott. Like the Clippers formula for getting it done is having Kawhi and James Harden show up in the same game, and I just don't think they can do that on the road here in a game 7 at elevation. I'm on the Nuggets, but I'm with Scott. If you're looking for a side on the total, I think under as well. Kramer, what are you doing?
Your squareness is offensive to me. This has been on the calendar for some time. If this series goes 7, Joker will be at an ultimate crossroads as the Kentucky Derby post time is at 3:52 p.m. Pacific, a mere 40 minutes before.
Oh, this is great. Though. He's going to get jacked up.
Which, by the way, I will be live from the Win, doing a little virtual Kentucky Derby broadcast starting about after the first quarter of this game. I will not have eyes on this game. I will not bet on Joker on the biggest horse racing day of the year.
Oh, you're Give me the Clippers.
We talked about this before the series started. Warning: Joker, Kentucky Derby, Game 7, all on the same day.
Well, but Ryan, we also were in attendance when the Clippers had one of the greatest collapses in NBA history.
Where was that?
That was
at home.
Yeah, it was at home. Yeah. But James Harden was on the Rockets, and they took him out and never put him back in for that comeback.
Who was the power the 4 who's the guy who just chucked threes?
Josh Smith.
That is correct. It was Josh Smith and Corey Brewer.
Oh my God!
And Kramer and I were. I mean, that was the loudest I've ever seen for a Clippers game or been a part of, and then also the quietest I've ever been in a full stadium arena. Like it was it was an
They
insane.
collapsed twice in the same series, right? I was randomly at both of those games. Unreal scenario. Give me the Clippers, and also fading the public. Massively fading the public.
And for the record, I did pick the Clippers in the series initially. I'm just fed up with this team, to be honest. Maybe it's out of spite. I feel like they're so much better on paper, but I'm just so underwhelmed every time I watch them. Maybe just one of those teams that you're kind of cursed with. I'm sure we each have one of those teams. You feel like you control the outcome if you're a superstitious bettor. If you bet on them, they're going to lose. And if you bet against them, they're going to win. So something to keep in mind. Maybe Kramer's onto something fading me in this game.
This is a play that I had set up weeks ago. I don't bet on Joker on the Derby, Preakness, or Belmont.
It's got those days marked. Hey, shout out to Rhythm. If you guys haven't already signed up with Rhythm, what are you waiting for? Love my Rhythm app. It's great for building your own models when it comes to props, sides, and totals. Or if you don't feel like doing that, just let Rhythm do the heavy lifting and use their plays, including coming up tonight. Later, they like Draymond Green under 6.5 rebounds. They got a nice win probability there. I'm all for fading Draymond, whether it's PRA, whether it's rebounds, assists, whatever it is. So it's always good to hear Rhythm on the same side of what my gut, my eyes are telling me. Great to have that AI betting models from some MIT nerds telling you how to get down and making you a sharper better. I know Scott and our buddy Rosenberg have been doing very well there on the MLB prop show using Rhythm's MLB stuff. And of course, you can use the promo code SGPN25, get 25% off monthly, SGPN50 for 50% off the annual. Sign up for the annual now because you got yourself covered for the NFL, and you're getting 50% off. Get that 7-day free trial as well. Again, no one who's signed up for the free trial hasn't stuck around or have told me. If you don't like it after 7 days, let me know. I'd be surprised. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And of course, we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Scott, we'll let you hop in here. Of course, everyone's using the promo code SGPN to get those bonus bucks up to 1,000 in bonus cash. Getting down on some pick'em. Again, I like the Draymond Green lower PRA, the Jalen Green lower PRA. But what do you like, Scott?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to co-sign one of those plays. I like both, but you know what? I'm going to dare Jalen Green with a bad knee to show up in a pretty important game here. Give me Jalen Green lower. I have the points and assists at 18.5, so I skipped the rebounds, but I'll go with the points and assists there. I wonder if Houston's starting to pivot to another direction because Jalen Green has been so bad besides game 2. We saw Ahmed of 25 last game. He might be a focal point moving forward. Van Vliet's been great. Şengün's been solid as well. Feels like Green might have been demoted to basically the 4th option on the offense. And even Dylan Brooks at 24 points last game. So give me Jalen Green in a pretty hostile environment to be bad once again. Give me the Jalen Green lower 18.5 points and assists.
Okay, so I'm seeing 17.5 right now over on Underdog. Do we still like it at 17.5, Scott?
Yeah, I'm still fine with it.
Okay. So I'm going to take the Jalen Green lower 17.5 points and assists, and I'm going to put it with the Draymond Green lower PRA, which is up to 19.5. That returns you 3x. So $100 entry would return you $300, and you can get a free entry with some free bonus bucks. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. Kramer, a couple more games left.
Wow, they the boosts are back, by the way. I got
nice.
I got a 60%er.
I mean, the boosts, they really are. If you don't have an Underdog account, just to be getting down on like the free play and boost stuff, they do a Tuesday deal reveal. I said the other day it was like a higher Luka a half point, and I forget what I paired it with, but I hit on that. So essentially, you're getting just one fantasy projection right, and you're getting 3x return on it. So the boosts and the deals and all their other stuff. I think you hop in their Discord as well. That seems to like help your username get more boosts.
And I also went and re-signed up in Discord. I may be suspicious that maybe there was a recycling. That's where my boosts went. So the boosts are back. Hop in the Discord. Let me know.
Kramer's boosts are back.
Yeah, Kramer's boosts are back.
I have a question, by the way, about Underdog, just quickly.
Yeah.
How excited was CJ when he found out that Underdog added ladders to their
well, he feels like he should have gotten credit, and so I think he's excited, Scott. But the fact that the laddie daddy, the CJ, who's pioneered the ladders, at least on the SGPN network, that they didn't use his personal endorsement as part of their promotion. He was a little miffed, I could tell.
I did go back at some point and do some internet research to see who was talking about ladders before CJ. There was like a small account or two, but not widespread like this.
So we'll take credit for it, and of course by
CJ.
CJ.
Well,
we as a network.
It's a big we.
Well, come on. I SGPN, CJ pioneering it on SGPN.
All right, game 1, Pacers, Cavs, good old fashioned Midwestern rivalry here. Maybe 10 a.m. on Sunday, football window here, Sean. So we're getting ready.
Let's get it.
The Browns are laying 8 against the Colts. Minus 330 on the money line, plus 265 for the Pacers. 229.5 is the total. Pacers will not be without superstar Halliburton or Mr. Halliburton, the dad.
Dad is not going to the games.
He's been ejected in the same way that you would be asked to not come back to your kid's youth sporting event because you acted like a complete buffoon. You're lucky you're still living. For you to go, I mean, it's literally like the videos you see of people fucking with animals in the wild. Like you're going to walk on a basketball court with NBA players, walk up to the biggest one and talk shit because you know they aren't going to come back at you. What a bitch move. What a bitch move. Anyway, Cavs, Pacers. Scott, what are we doing here?
Yeah, so some people think the Pacers are actually going to be a bit live because of the regular season numbers, but a reminder, Cleveland clinched everything in the Eastern Conference with like a month to go. So some of those games, though, at the end of the season, the Cavs didn't actually play anybody. So the last 2 games, the last game of the regular season, actually, Cleveland blew like a 27-point lead and nobody played. They also played the game before that, benching a bunch of guys, and the Pacers were down a bunch, came back and won by 2. But the point is Indiana was 3-1 in the regular season, but the 2 most recent meetings tossed them out because Cleveland benched the entire roster. So something worth mentioning there. Cleveland was probably the most impressive team in the first round as they were able to beat the Heat by a postseason record, by the way, a 122-point margin in a 4-game sweep. The largest margin of all time. Yeah, Heat culture. It's long dead at this point. Point is, though, they won game 4 by 55, I think, which is one of the biggest win margins of all time. And Garland didn't even play the last 2 games. So you're looking at Indiana. They won in 5 against Milwaukee, a very compromised Milwaukee team. Should have won 6 because Milwaukee punted the game away in overtime. But I feel like if you're looking at how these teams match up, both teams want to play fast, but Cleveland, in my opinion, has significantly more offensive talent. And I do think defensively, the Pacers have some lapses at times. I'm going to ask both of you because Cleveland, of course, was very impressive in the first round. Were you that impressed by Indiana? Because Milwaukee was shorthanded. Milwaukee was missing Lillard, and when he did play, they rushed him back off blood clot, so he was a non-factor the entire series. Indiana, though, I thought was fine. They didn't really wow me that much, but I thought that Cleveland, if we're comparing, I know Miami's worse than Milwaukee, but I thought Cleveland was clearly the better team. They've been better all season long. We know that the land is a pretty solid home court environment, too. I like Cleveland in game one. I think Cleveland wins this series, and in my opinion, like 5. I think Cleveland is that much better than a lot of teams in the league. Indiana's one of them. And I'm not going to overact Indiana barely beating the Milwaukee C squad in overtime at home in the last game of the series. So I'll go with Cleveland to win game one.
I mean, I'm with you, Scott. Like, I will give Indiana a little credit for coming back and winning that game and taking care of them. But it's not, to me, it's not like a game changer. I wasn't super high on Indiana coming into the playoffs. Like, I don't see how they take down either the Cavs or the Celtics, at least as they're currently constructed. And I think in particular for game one, man, they kind of emptied the tank just to get that win. Then you have all the distractions with Halliburton and his dad. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Cavs were just sitting there fat and happy. They close out, they close out the Heat early. And then they just did a good job of getting rested, getting their guys ready for this playoff matchup. So, and the Cavs have been very good at covering decent sized spreads all season. Like, they put it on teams. I think you're right. Like, give me the Cavs 4-1 for the series, but I think
no sweep.
No, because I think the Pacers are good enough to win one of their home games. Probably, I would be a little surprised there. It just feels like Cavs will win game 5. It'll be either game 3 or game 4 that Indiana's able to win outright, I think, because they're good enough. But a sweep is a chance. But Cavs laying the 8 game 1, I really like.
Cavs are trying.
Yeah,
isn't that what that's why we had this the combination of a really bad team making the playoffs and a team trying really hard.
Yeah,
you're crazy. And Pacers coming off like an emotional.
Yeah, emotional like OT game that to me this feels a series that probably should be back in Milwaukee right now, if not for I would say either team that was going to face the Cavs we were going to fade pretty heavily. I mean, I was always going to like the Cavs in game 1, but especially considering how that game ended for the Bucks Pacers makes me like them even more.
But it also just for the Cavs to not let up on the Heat in that last game. I mean, we're talking about a situation where I think per one of the Miami Heat beat reporters, it was the worst example of one team having twice as many points as another team in an NBA game ever. So the fact that they had 96-48, that's insane. That was an NBA playoff game, a first round NBA playoff game, had a team winning by 48 points. I was just at a youth sports event where the final score ended up being 54-2. Not that far off what we were dealing with in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Cavs all the way. I'll play the sweep. Fuck it.
Kramer, last game. What
Knicks,
do we got?
Celtics, another first round or second round matchup here in the East that feels like there's no chance for one of the teams. The 3 seed Knicks are catching 8.5, 3-1 on the money line, 213 is the total. I mean, similarly to the series with the Pacers and the Bucks, certainly feels like the Knicks have used a little bit of the fuel in their tank to get past the mighty Pistons. And now the Celtics are just going to absolutely dominate Brunson and make one of these other fucking losers beat them. And if they don't get 50 from Hart every night, they're not going to have a chance.
But it does feel like the Celtics, as good as they are pretty much locked into losing one playoff game a series. Even I think they lost one game in every series last year when they won the title. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott.
Except Indiana. They should have lost 2 games to Indiana, but Indiana choked twice.
Yeah, no, Indiana like almost won a bunch of those games, but man, this one's tough because I could see the Knicks kind of hanging around and covering. I don't like them to win, but Scott, what's your take on this game one?
So I do agree over the course of the series, I will give the Knicks a game because
Yeah.
Boston's incapable of winning in a sweep. And they also were struggling against Orlando, who doesn't really have much offensive talent. I mean, I think Kramer touched on it, and I feel like a lot of Knicks fans feel the same way. They won, but a lot of Knicks fans hate this team and they hate Thibodeau because it's just a miserable experience from a start to finish per game basis because it feels like every game has about 7 different momentum turning points, and the Knicks blew a 50, I think it was like a 13-point lead to start the quarter in like 5 minutes yesterday. And you're like, what is happening right now? And then every game was chaotic. I don't think either team looked good in the first round. The Knicks won because they had more talent than the Pistons, but their entire late game offense is please Brunson hit some shots. We don't have a plan B. We need you to go for 35. And you're looking at, for example, Cleveland and Boston, who we thought for basically the entire season, they are clearly the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. It's not even close. New York did a good job of beating Detroit. Is Detroit a good team? Debatable. I'm just going to throw that out there. Big step up in competition. Yeah. We saw Drew Holiday miss a couple games there against Orlando. He has some rest time to actually get back on track. That's important because Drew Holiday defensively can make life difficult for Brunson. The issue I have with the Knicks, besides the fatigue with the crazy series they had against the Pistons team, they were expected to beat. So they did what they were supposed to do. Boston has so much length and so much depth that with Brunson battling the ankle, yes, I know he had 40 points. You could argue the ankle issue is not as bad as it's being advertised. They can make Brunson work so hard for all these points. And I don't trust anybody else on the Knicks to show up on a regular basis. Cat had a couple of great games. We also know Cat's good for a clunker there. Foul trouble could be a problem for in game out. Tatum at 30-plus points in the final 3 games of the series against Orlando. Brown wasn't that great either. They still won the series. I'm going to go with Boston here. I think Boston in game 1 shows up with a purpose here. They've been very good in game 1s. The issue is game 2. Sometimes Boston will no-show game 2, but game 1, they tend to take care of business. Faced off 4 times this season. Boston's 4-0. Faced off 2 times in Boston. Boston won both games by 13-plus points. I think Boston wins by 10-plus. New York maybe makes game 2 competitive. I'll give them 1 game in the Garden, even though they were pretty horrible at home against Detroit in that first round. I'll give them 1, but I just think Boston, with the options they have and Thibodeau's pretty stubborn coaching, I think it's a bad matchup long term. But I'll give Boston once again the edge in game 1. I think Boston wins by 10-plus.
Yeah, Scott talked me into it. I realize I'm going all chalk here, but yeah, give me the Celtics.
You have to take the Celtics.
Especially game 1. And I forgot that the game 1 versus game 2 split. Like game 2, depending on how game 1 goes, you might want to even play Knicks money line because them losing at the Garden or whatever they call it now. Kramer's dog is going nuts. Them losing game 2, Celtics, and then just blowing through the Knicks the rest of the games, I could totally see happening. And you're going to get an insane money line price there. But yeah, Celtics are too good. They can't. Boston's or Knicks aren't going to be able to slow them down from behind the arc. They're just too deep. They were slightly banged up. I think it might have been Scott or someone I saw. They were doing like load management in round 1 of the playoffs against the Magic. That was crazy
because they were playing the Magic.
No, I know, but just shows you. And they cruised. They won 4-1 as expected. And I see that. It's hard not to like a 4-1 and that cash. We gave that out plus 190.
You know what? I'll go
Celtics
back.
4-1.
I like that. Do a 4-1 parlay.
Okay. Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll get Kramer. You're on the Celtics laying the 8.5, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This Knicks team is just constantly trying to lose a game. Every
they need
game.
Brunson to bail. They need Brunson to. They need Brunson to be Superman every 4th quarter to survive, and that might work against Detroit. That's not going to work against Boston. That's kind of the problem they run into here.
Yeah.
Kramer, time for a lock dog. We'll do a lock, a dog, and then your favorite way to get down on one of the series.
Lock would be betting against Joker on Derby Day.
Okay. Wow. Clippers is your lock.
Dog
Kramer.
would be Golden State tonight, 1-10.
Ooh, I do like that.
Stealing. That's credit.
I was never really in that market until Scott started mentioning it on the NBA Game of podcast.
Yeah. Or what I probably should have just said is I'll wait for the game and do some live trading. And then the series, I mean, do we like Boston -2.5 or Cleveland -2.5 more? I'll just do the parlay. I said both Boston and Cleveland both win in 5.
Boston in 5, Cleveland in 5. Do you have the?
I'll figure that price out while you're talking.
Okay, yeah, and
slash get down.
Okay, for me, lock. Oh, this is tough because I do really like Golden State laying the 5.5. Scott worried me a little bit. Nuggets, man, Denver's not going to lose at home to your Clippers. Kramer, give me Joker at home against. I mean, we got basically more or less even, -110 against James Harden in a Game 7, and I'm scared to pull the trigger. Shame on me. For my dog.
Shame on you.
I'll go chalky. Give me Cleveland and Boston parlayed. It's super chalky, but both Cleveland and Boston to cover Game 1 will get you a nice little plus money price. For my series, I'll just take Boston in 5 because I do think there's a small chance that Cleveland sweeps them. But Boston, we've seen this Boston team before. They will lose one of these games, and Boston in 5.
So actually, I'm changing. This is what I'm officially getting down on. Cleveland and Boston both -2.5 on the series line.
Okay.
So that's Boston is -110, Cleveland is +115. So +114. So +308 is that parlayed.
Now, do you have the price of Boston in 5, Kramer?
What do you mean?
Just Boston to win exactly in 5 for this series.
You like that better than what I just said?
Yes, I do. Cause I feel more confident. About Boston.
+220 for Boston 4-1.
No, okay. Yeah. Boston in 5 +220 will be my favorite series play here. Scott, what do you got? A lock, a dog, and a series play you like?
Yeah. So for the series, I think I'm just going to go back to Boston once again here. I'll go with Boston. I was contemplating if I wanted to go for Boston to lead 3-0 at +194, but Boston might punt Game 2 at home because we know that this team never makes it easy. I'll go with Boston -2.5 games. I just think after watching Thibodeau and the Knicks barely survive against Bickerstaff in Detroit, I'm so unimpressed. And I feel like most people feel the same way. Boston has had a hard time with Orlando in the past, so Orlando being feisty wasn't as shocking to me as it was to others. But I like the rest advantage they had. New York had a full kitchen sink game there in Game 6. The Celtics were able to sit Holiday for the last couple games. We saw them once again coast basically in the final games. They were up 30 in the second half. I think Boston gets off to a good start. I think they'll be able to coast here. Give me Boston -2.5 games for my series play. For the lock, I think for this one, by the way, I didn't know that you had a tout service, Sean, with the parlay you gave out there. I didn't know you had a tout service.
Yes.
But
it is. I mean, I may as well open up my dub club, but both these teams, it's such a good spot for them Game 1.
Yeah, wow. It definitely is. I was just throwing it out there because I thought about actually doing the same thing. But I'm glad you went first.
Eat the chalk.
I'm glad you went first. I didn't want to sabotage your service that you're providing people, so that's fine. I think
documented winners.
Yeah, I'll do my dog first though. I am going to go with the Golden State once again 1-10. I think it's a good spot there for Golden State to win the game, but it's going to be close. Houston, I don't think it's going to go away quietly. I think they'll fall short, but I do think the effort will be there. I think it'll be a war, but I do think Golden State survives. Kind of like that playing game against Memphis with a lot less points. Just a free-for-all at the end. Golden State makes enough big plays. Houston offensively falls apart in the final possession or so, and Golden State survives. That is +182. And
I do like that.
Yeah, and for my lock on the show, I thought about going with Boston, but you know what? I picked Boston for my actual, once again, series play here. I'm going to go with Cleveland. I think Cleveland is going to perform pretty well here. I'm wondering if I want to go for the full game or the first half, because Cleveland could jump this team early, and it wouldn't shock me at all. I think I'll go Cleveland first half, actually, for this game.
And what do you see that at? -5, maybe?
Yeah, give or take. I'm trying to see what the best line that I can get right now. But I do think Cleveland jumps them early. Indiana got to face off against Giannis and a bunch of nobodies for about 5 games. Have fun with Cleveland and all the options they have there. It's going to be a serious shock that they're going to have to deal with all the shooting they have, all the spacing, and Cleveland with the crowd atmosphere. And once again, after having a very easy go of it against Miami, should be rested. Garland should play. I like the spot. Indiana did also have an emotional win there against Milwaukee. I know that Halliburton Sr. is not going to be there. So once again, maybe Tyreek's affected by that. Just kidding. But I do think that the Cavs in the first half should get off to a good start. I see -4.5 in the first half.
Oh,
I
nice.
think that Cleveland jumps them early. They'll win game one comfortably. But I do think there's a potential script there where Indiana maybe backdoors it if the game gets up tempo and gets a bit weird. I think Cleveland does well early, though. Give me Cleveland first half -4.5.
Dog.
And Sean, someone like yourself, maybe you take Boston game one, Boston series -260, easy money.
He has to parlay that with something for the.
Yeah, come on, Ryan. So -260. I like a lot of chalk in these game ones, and if you look at how the other series round one start out, I don't think it's crazy that some of these there's still some decent mismatches, at least in my mind.
My advice would be when you parlay it, the correlation engine I think eats too much juice. So just do them separately. Don't do game one series. Just bet them separately.
Oh, okay.
I think they're taking too much from you. They're affecting too much correlation.
Good insight there, Kramer. Hey, Derby week. Of course, if you missed it, check out our Kentucky Derby preview with the Wolf of Oaklawn, Malcolm Bamford, Barry the Sniper Spears. Of course, get in, get your $25 free bet for the Derby. nyrabets.com/SGPN25. Of course, Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. As always, get in over there and Rhythm. Try them out for the NBA playoffs. You're not gonna regret it. Kramer, we're gonna be back on the air live 11 o'clock East, 8 o'clock Pacific for our VSiN show. We got some fun early NFL stuff, as we always crowbar some NFL talk in. We got CJ hopping on. We got Scott will be joining us talking more NBA, more MLB for the Saturday slate. So a lot to get to. And of course, youtube.com/sportsgamblingpodcast. Check out Kramer's live virtual Derby stream.
5 p.m. tomorrow, Saturday.
5 p.m. Pacific.
I'll be at the Win out in Vegas too. If you're out in Vegas,
live with our buddy Bowser promoting a photo finish. So check that out. YouTube.com/sportsgamblingpodcast. And of course, follow Scott on X at Reichel Radio. Check out the MLB Gambling Podcast, the NBA Gambling Podcast, the Tennis Gambling Podcast. And I saw people in the chat pointing out Scott's. Yeah, here you go. Michael Smith saying Scott is the best thing SGPN has. Tennis channels beyond up plus units. So if you like winning money, subscribe to the Tennis.
A compliment on Scott's unit coming from Facebook.
There you go.
Let's go.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, second the Money Green. He's Ryan.
Good show, Sean.
Kramer, let it ride.